This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everyone, thanks for joining me for another installment of the show. I appreciate it. You've tuned into a conversation featuring the guitar maestro, George Lynch from KXM, Lynch Mob, and of course the big one, Dokken. The chat has been available on the Scars and Guitars podcast for some time now, since late 2019, but I have repurposed it for YouTube. Now, throughout this conversation, George and I discuss heaps of aspects from throughout his career. We're talking Dokken, Lynch Mob, his solo material, how he avoided gang violence during the LA riots in 1992. He's also hinted throughout the chat that he's got many The Dirt style revelations to rival Motley Crue, although I hope you can understand I declined to press him for more further information on that topic. I'm sure he'll release a book or something will come out that details Dokken's exploits in that regard. The conversation is very notable for a reason which did not register at all at the time. George, it's fair to say, is a bit of a political activist. He's not afraid to make his opinion well known, and more power to him for that. I may not agree with what he has to say, but that's not the bloody point, is it? We should be able to engage in a dialogue or a conversation with people whose comments don't align with our own. He clearly does not like Donald Trump, and at the time, he was President of the United States. The conversation was picked up by Blabbermouth, and for a number of years, I think there was a recent article posted there in which his comments from this chat were referenced on Blabbermouth and on many other sites, by the way. It's probably easier for me to say the sites that didn't pick up this chat. But as you can see, if you're tuned in via YouTube, there's a bit of a sample of what they posted. There is many more, but go and search it if you're interested. Yeah, but otherwise, forget about the politics. This is a deep dive into George on George, if you like. I'm not aware of another conversation out there like this one. It's similar to the one that I had with Ralph Santola from Death, Deicide and Obituary. So if you're a fan, I hope you enjoy. So here he is, the maestro, George Lynch.
Andrew, George, you're both there?
Indeed.
Yes, I'm here. Great, you guys can go ahead.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much.
Hi.
Hey, George.
It's 4 minutes.
Yeah, it is. It's a sprightly 4:41 in the AM in the morning. But I tell you what, mate, I was not going to miss my opportunity to talk to the great George Lynch. So I want to thank you for making the time, actually.
Oh, well, the great George Lynch isn't here right now, but you get to talk to the lesser George Lynch.
The lesser George Lynch. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, well, we could have done it, in hindsight, I could have done it in the evening, which would have been 4:30 in the afternoon for you, but whatever.
I've got young kids. You see, I've got a 4 and a 6-year-old. So believe it or not, this is actually the best time of day for me to do it, because what can sometimes happen is I'm out and about, either taking him to school and all that sort of things at the times in North America there, which are appropriate for you guys. But of course, I'm out and about here. But also the yelling in the background. I don't know how many podcast episodes I've done where I can hear one of my 2 kids screaming about something in the background. So they are safe and sound asleep.
It's a feature of your podcast, yeah.
It is. If you've got headphones on, sometimes you can hear it. And I'm going to, when they get older, they're like their 18th birthday or their 21st or something, I'm going to put it on and amplify the yelling in the background, just to embarrass them there.
Yeah, but the thing is, it'll become such a thing that you won't be able to, then your podcast in the future will all have to have that, but they won't be screaming anymore because they won't be little kids, so you're going to have to fake it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, that'll just be my wife swearing at me about something else. So that's all right. That'll continue going.
Right, yeah. Fake canned baby screams.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It won't be the same thing.
It won't be the same. No, it's got to be authentic. It's got to be authentic, hasn't it?
Right.
Mate, you are very authentic. I've loved your playing for a long time, it must be said. And I know you've got this album coming out with KXM, okay? And it's the... I really liked the first album that you guys did back in 2014. It still gets a fairly regular spinning on my, if that's the right term, on my iPhone. But the reason for our opportunity to chat now, of course, is about Circle of Dolls. So you're joined by 2 of the best. You got Ray on drums, Ray Luzier on drums. You got the great Doug Pinnick from King's X on vocals and on bass.
And I guess you could all rest on your laurels, given that you're globally adored musicians and performers already. But I've got to ask first, mate, what was the inspiration behind the collaboration?
Well, not really a huge story there. Just we all met up at Ray's house for a party for his kid, and just started talking around in the kitchen, and turned into a reality. Because I'm gonna kind of ring my own bell here and just say that I was extremely persistent. Because you know how these things usually go. Where you especially in Hollywood, you meet up with your contemporaries and you make big plans, and maybe you had too much to drink or whoever, and you have, you mean well, but then real life happens, and it's hard to actually put that together. And I've had these conversations with people before. I had one with Tommy Lee once way back in the day where I really thought we were going to put this kind of heavy funk thing together. He's really into that kind of stuff, and so was I, and let's do it. And of course, it went nowhere. It never went past the initial first phone call. But there's been a lot of those in my experience. So I thought, well, this one is worth really pushing for. And so I didn't give up, and it paid off. But it was very touch and go, because it was actually there was a lot of incremental steps that we had to take. We had to get past to make it happen. And as we get past one, and then there was another one, and then another one, and then we had deadlines that we didn't meet, and then for some reason we had scheduled things, and then something came up, and then I thought it would fall apart.
Yep.
Rescheduled. And finally, we were able to, get the three of us in the room. And that room was a house that we rented up in the mountains about 2 hours north of Los Angeles that we retrofitted, the engineer and I retrofitted into a studio. And where we stayed. We actually, brought in some groceries, brought in all our equipment, and we fitted the house out to record an album. And pretty much, just stayed there and worked. And with no pre-planning, no pre-production, no songs, no premeditated anything. Just walked in and, okay, let's jam. What we got?
Yeah,
and
cool.
Once we hit that first note, we knew it was real. And actually, when we started playing, it was really cool. And we didn't have any idea what it was going to be like. And that was what was crazy about it. Was just like, well, what is actually, through all this work and anticipation, what's going to happen when we plug in and hit that first note? And it just kept going places, and we had more ideas than we could corral. It was like chasing cats, and we were just like having a blast. And it was like, this is awesome. And we didn't actually, Ray had something come up where he lost a couple of days, so we had to get it done quicker than we anticipated. So we had only 10 days, I think.
Oh, shit.
So we had to write everything, record everything in 10 days, and then we had to come back. I think we had to come back for a couple of days and get another song or two songs or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a while, but yeah.
So did I hear that right? You wrote and recorded everything in 10 days?
Yeah, on the Circle of Dolls was 12 days.
12, yeah, but still, my God, yeah, okay. So the quality of the cuts is outstanding. It just, mate, some people would struggle to put an album of that quality together in 5 years, but 12, years, not days. What can I say? So did you come in with basic sketches of songs and then present them to the guys?
No. That's absolutely not allowed. And Ray really plays the song police role very well, and he has a sixth sense about that. And I've actually tried to get away with that, where I kind of would have something sort of in my head, and I say, well, I throw it out, and he goes, you know what, he goes, that's premeditated. You already had that. Nope. And he would change the beat up, and he would completely change the tempo, and he just allowed that. And Doug also is the same way. I tried to do something like that after the fact, and I threw a little part out, and he goes, you know what? No, we weren't all in the room. We didn't conceive of it together, so it's not KXM. As cool as it is, can't do that.
Yes. Okay. Gosh.
So start doing that, the slippery slope, and then that's what defines us, and then we're we have to stay true to what it is that we're trying to do here, and that's just be, spontaneously conceived ideas that we flesh out all in a limited amount of time together, and for better or worse, like a marriage, and get what you get.
And what
and
does
there are some misgivings, we listen to the records and we're kind of like, oh, didn't quite nail it here, and could I nail it there, and this could have been better, that could have been better, but that's what you get, and we got to live with that. So it's life.
Yeah, it is indeed, yeah. And what the band name itself? Can you tell me what is it an acronym for something, or what does the KXM stand for?
It's so dumb. It's just the initials of our respective bands. It's stupid. I mean, I got to say that the hardest thing about being in a band is coming up with names for songs and band names and record titles. I honestly, everything else is easier.
Yeah.
Playing instruments easier, composing is easier, doing album recording, going on tour. But coming up with names is, to me, like impossible. So I've got all these projects that are just acronyms and initials and dumbass names, and I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's all right.
But it's KXM is Corn, King's X, and M for Mob. So what?
I thought so. I was going to say it had to be M for Mob. Yeah, there you go. And hey, the other. No, that's okay. I mean, God, names are just named at the end of the day. It's the music that counts. And on this new album, let me tell you, it sounds to me a lot more intense and a bit rawer than the other two. Do you agree with that, or have I just not been listening to it long enough yet?
I would say, I don't know. I mean, they're all a little different, but I just, I think we're always trying to get to a place where, it's just more immediate, like you're hearing what we're hearing in the room, and it's real. And I don't know how, so how you capture it, So, a lot of it's technical. We recorded in a real studio, so the Steakhouse Studio is a very large studio. It's a beautiful Neve board that was out of the EMI studios in London, which a lot of famous records have been recorded on.
Awesome. Yep.
It's not a mixing room; it's essentially a tracking room. But big room that sounds wonderful, and so that helps. We weren't going to tape, but who can really go to tape these days anymore? But I wish we. Yep. So we try to get as close to emulating a tape recording in a big room as we can.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Touring.
So in other words, we would record the Pro Tools, and then we'd slam the drums and sometimes other instruments back to tape, and then back into Pro Tools.
Is that right?
That tape after that.
There you go. Okay. God, I'm surprised you found the time to do that, given that you got the 10 to 12 days to record things. But
that was part of our our whole day. These are they're 12-hour days, but the last hour or two of every day was we got to cut it off because we have to do this because it's very important. So the engineer would say, "Oh, it would be funny because it would be the end of these days, and literally at the beginning of the day, we all kind of just float in and." We're taking it easy and we're taking our time. By the end, we got, how much time do we got? We're all looking at the watch. Shit, we only got 43 minutes. Go. We're trying to cradle right up to literally the last 2 minutes. We're just hammering, trying to get stuff in. And
good
and then the engineer is very, the wizard. He's the time police, and he just pulls the plug. That's it.
We're done. Yep. Getcha. Yeah.
Yeah, we're done for today. For tomorrow.
Hey, what about touring and promo of the album? Because you guys I imagine you guys would go down really well on those massive European festivals like Wacken and Hellstock and that sort of stuff. Do you get offered a lot of opportunities to do that sort of thing?
We have had some offers, but we haven't pursued any, and we haven't solicited any. But we had some come through that were really wonderful offers. So we had Rock on the Range. We had a Japanese festival that wanted us to. This was back when we were doing the first record, and of course we couldn't take advantage of those opportunities. The thing is, with the band, we'd have to have a good body of work to justify going out. It's not. We've had some one-off offers, but the thing is, it's not a one-off band because we're not a band. We're not a live band. We've never played live, and we've never. These songs are not things that we worked on. In pre-production and are in our bones. So we've done 3 albums now over the course of however many years. None of us remember any of these songs because we just wrote them in a moment, a flash of time, and then forgot them. So, honestly, we'd have to have, like a good solid 2-month tour with at least 2 weeks of prep, to go and relearn everything, figure out how we're going to play all the stuff, and be tight, and go out there and do it properly. So that's a big time chunk of time that we'd have to allocate, and I just don't. None of us can figure out how we would be able to manage that.
Yeah.
But we all want to, so it's constantly on our minds.
Mm. Yeah, well, look, I guess God, I don't know how much feedback you got from us down here, mate, but a lot of musicians, I know, you're a musician's musician. I think you know that. All 3 of you are, really, actually, even, especially, yourself and Doug, especially. God, I remember listening to King's X a bunch back in the day, but man, if you ever get an opportunity to come down here, mate, we'd love to watch you. There's no doubt about that. So if you ever just go to one territory,
feeling's mutual. We just got to get past that constraints, but
yeah,
figure it out.
Mm. Hey, I'd like to ask you a few questions about Lynch Mob. Is that cool?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So look, I'm one of those people that got into Lynch Mob. I didn't even know you were in Dokken, to be honest with you, because I'm a child of the 90s. And Dokken are a band that I love now, but I didn't know about them at the time when I was listening to Lynch Mob. Now, that 1992 album, mate, I've got to hand it to you. It's probably one of the greatest and overlooked albums of that era, because it's in the similar vein to what Jake was doing with Badlands. Okay, just real groovy, bluesy rock and roll with a hard rock edge. That era, mate, with the so-called grunge and alternative stuff that MTV and Rolling Stone were favouring. But and that goes to the other side of it. You're one of the great survivors of that era. Now, I never gave a shit, to be honest with you, what was going on in the mainstream or what have you. I just got into music that I really wanted to get into. And do you find that with fans of your work in particular? They're just universal music fans who just don't care whatever else is going on. They just love your guitar playing. And on that note, do you think Lynch Mob gets fair recognition?
Well, fair is a strange word. I mean, what's fair? Life's not fair. Nothing's, there is no such thing really. So it just is what it is. There are a lot of reasons for why Lynch Mob is where it is. It's not a gigantic band. I was under the illusion for decades that your fans would always follow you and be interested and encourage you to go outside and stretch. But I found that to not be the case, and that was a very hard lesson for me in the 90s, when I started trying to do the things. I found a lot of resistance and even resentment with a lot of the fans that was really eye-opening, and sort of depressing because, fans are very conservative. They take their music very seriously, and and they associate, obviously, the music that they grew up with events in their life, and so when you mess with that, you're messing with a person's identity, and maybe for selfish reasons, just because you want to be free to go explore other, genres of music or whatever it is, reinvent yourself or whatever, stretch out, and people don't take too kindly to that. I'm not saying everybody, but there's maybe half of the fans are kind of that wired that way. So, for instance, I did this Smoke This project, which was called Lynch Mob, but shouldn't have been, because the record company insists that I call it Lynch Mob so they could sell records, but it had really anything to do with Lynch Mob. It should have been called Lynch Biscuit. And we were sort of rap metal-y and stuff like that, with other elements. It was a very cool band and a cool record, I thought. But it got panned really badly, and we went out on tour, and we're almost to the point of getting stuff thrown at us on stage.
Wow, okay, yeah.
And I think people had a certain respect for me, so they didn't bag on me too badly, but the rest of the band got a lot of flack, a lot of shit. So we ended up halfway through that tour having to just ended up, devolving to doing Dokken songs and shit.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah, it was pretty sad. And the band just broke up, sort of demoralized.
Yeah, they're really interesting points, aren't they? Because you're a guitarist who
your own history basically mirrors a lot of modern rock and heavy metal's history. Given your association with the Osborne camp, you really should have been in that band by a lot of people's estimation. Instead of Brad Gillis, no disrespect to Brad whatsoever when I say that point there, but I mean, you were really, you were one of the hotshot young gun guitarists of that time. And then, of course, you're in Dokken through the 80s, and then the 90s hit, and there's this big tidal wave. And I think there's that situation that a lot of artists had through the 90s, which is that you want to remain relevant and current, so there are trends of the time that you want to emulate that you might even really enjoy, but then again, you've also got these rusted-on fans that expect you to sound like you did when they first heard you. And I think that's so true for an artist. Yeah, that's so true for an artist in your position who's been around so long. And the bloody 90s, I talk about this a lot with, I've done over 450 interviews at this point, and every artist like yourself, mate, it was such a cruel era, to be honest with you, because just the way that I think journalists decided to treat musicians very unfairly. And the internet was still in its burgeoning phases, of course, so people couldn't really... we had dial-up. Most people had dial-up or very slow ADSL connections, meaning that we didn't have the time to sit down and really investigate what our favourite artists were doing, so it was still sort of a bit at the beck and call of the media. But I think I speak for a lot of people, George, when I say we're just so grateful to have you around these days still, performing, playing music with KXM, and I think everything you've ever done, when you listen to it, I had a chat to Marty Friedman 2 nights ago. It's the same thing for him, man. You guys are in the same boat. Everything you've ever done has an aspect of quality to it. It's just different. You've just done different things, but you've got an aspect of quality to everything. And I think that's why people really appreciate your guitar playing.
Yeah, I think you want to challenge the listener a little, challenge yourself, challenge the listener, and give them some kind of little twist and surprise. A little bit of the old. It has a thread of the old. With something unexpected. I think that's kind of the key. Whether it's a throwback, whether it's got some little bit of R&B influence, or some little, let's say a progressive influence. Like in KXM, we do, we change it up with a lot of different time signatures a lot of times. And that's not something I'm known for and really do much of. But things like that. So it keeps it interesting. I mean, I get it why there's bands like AC/DC and Van Halen or Judas Priest, whatever bands that we all grew up with and love and are the foundation of the music that we write and care about. And they can't change. I mean, you imagine, AC/DC coming out and doing something that was different than AC/DC, that would be crazy. But that'd be suicide and silly. But, it's one of the fortunate things about my lack of success. It's allowed me to be free, because I don't have this huge constraint on me due to commercial success that confines me to being like that. I don't have to repeat myself.
Yep.
I could, I guess, but I'm just not built that way. And some people are, and some people aren't. That's just the way I'm built. I'm sorry. Life is about change. And when you stop changing, you're not alive anymore. So you're talking about life versus death. You're talking about having, sort of a dead product. To me, if you just keep beating the same formula over the head, it's just dead, And I even take that a little further in talking about the compositions. And I'm trying to sound too heavy here or anything, but usually when we write, there's always this magic thing. This is with any band that you would talk to. There's this magic thing that happens in the band room or in the garage or sound check or whatever, and you come up with something, and you all kind of sort of jump on board and go, "Oh, this is badass." That's the creative moment. That's the part. That's the thing you get so excited about. What makes life worth living. And it's just such a beautiful thing, and it's mysterious. And how the hell did that happen? And I want to think about capturing that.
Yep.
So that was sort of the idea with KXM, was just capture this moment when we were just coming up with stuff,
Yeah.
And what's really gratifying about KXM is people are actually getting it, I'm not saying a ton of people, but, the people that do dig it,
yeah,
they understand what we're trying to do and appreciate it, and that's that's gratifying, I'm not getting beat up. We're trying something different. Yeah.
Hey, are you?
And, I'm not trying to. The other thing is, I got to say, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just. The other thing is, at my age, I'm not trying to sell anything. Sure, I want to sell more records, and I want to make more money and all that stuff. But I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just trying to do what I think people would like, what I like. And if they pick up, and I'm surprised sometimes they don't pick up on it. And sometimes they don't pick up on it because they don't know about it, or just, I'm a small fish in a big pond or whatever. But that's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to say, hey, I've got the world's greatest thing here and I'm reinventing the wheel. No, I'm just doing what I think hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people would love to hear. People like me want to hear, intelligent, groove-based, passionate, angst-ridden music that comes from the heart. And, I'm still just chasing that voice, that I call it, so chasing the dragon, that's like this song that you have that's in your head your whole life and you keep trying to get it. It's like the best Band of Gypsies jam in history on acid, and you're just chasing it. You're like, I got to capture that someday.
Nice.
I hear it in my head, when I'm waking up in the morning or I'm riding my motorcycle or whatever, or I'm out or something. I hear it, but I've never been able to get it on tape, And
yeah, I get you.
That's the thing. All these projects are just, I'm chasing that one song. And I think a lot of the great artists, I hear that in their music too. I think that's what they were doing as well. I definitely think Hendrix was doing that. You can hear that common thread through all his music. He was chasing that same dragon.
Yeah, I know exactly. I'm a musician myself, and I know exactly what you're saying. And those moments they're so rare, mate. You're talking about once or twice in your entire musical career that these things probably happen, and you capture that flame just even for a moment before it flickers out or disappears somewhere else.
Or never. And that's fear. And that's what drives you, is that fear that you'll never capture it. That you'll go to your grave and never having said what you wanted to say.
Hey, I hope...
feel it's important, genuinely important,
Yeah. But the other thing about you too, mate, that's just really inspiring what you've just talked about there, because that means that you're going to keep on creating music. Just keep on doing it. But I hope you don't mind me making a point about your age, but I don't think people realise that you're in your mid-60s. You sound like as though you're in your 40s, and you look like...
in September.
Yeah, I mean, but you sound like as though you're in your 40s, and you look like you're in your bloody 30s. So is there a secret, or are you just happy to be alive?
Good genes. Try to be healthy, work out, eat good, just do all the stuff you're supposed to do. But, and I've been blessed with this life that's, music is nourishing and it keeps you young, I think. Or I think anything that you love doing keeps you,
Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't say young at heart, but it keeps you enthused and keeps you engaged. And, I guess they say that, to keep flexible, keep your mind flexible, you have to keep challenging yourself and learning new things that are uncomfortable to learn. And I think music does that. And the fact that in the last couple decades I've been able to have the freedom to challenge myself by playing with guys like Dokken and Ray and Ultraphonics guys and people I normally wouldn't play with in the genre that I'm known for. And being really I'm not a schooled musician. I'm not a theory guy or anything like that. It's double challenging for me to play with, let's say, especially the Ultraphonics guys, like the Project Infidelica thing, where you've got horns and theremins and guys that are writing charts and actually, reading music. And I'm like, wow, I don't know how to do any of this stuff, and I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't understand that language, so I'm just following along, and it's really challenging. And I think all that kind of stuff keeps me on my toes, and maybe helps keep me, a little younger at heart, if nothing else. But there is going to be that point where I'm going to have to, put on the wig and wear the ascot. And
yeah.
But whatever.
Hey,
sit down on the chair and play the blues.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, well, keep going. Yeah, but it's what about your solo material? Because I do enjoy Sacred Groove as well. It came out about the same time, I think, as the self-titled Lynch Mob album, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember them from about the same era. Yeah. Do you find there's a demand for you to perform your solo material still when you're playing live, when you're doing shows?
No, not really. I mean, I think the challenge for all bands, legacy bands, is to balance the demand for playing the hits, quote unquote, and doing more current stuff and or improvisational stuff or covers or jams or whatever, getting outside your the songs that you've been playing over and over for 35 years. And as far as demand, when you're standing on stage and you play a song people recognize, everybody lights up.
Yeah.
You know, we do a lot of Dokken material. Probably a third of Lynch Mob set is Dokken material. I mean, songs I wrote, I had a big hand in writing, but, you know, that's what lights people up. And, you know, we throw something else in there that's more current, that's, you know, a valid, great song, but people just, you know, the energy dials back and we can feel it in the crowd, you know.
Yeah.
Like, But again, I don't want to be a cover band. I don't want to be a Dokken tribute band, you know, with a few Lynch Mob songs thrown in. So what we've done is we do a lot of improvising, and people really do respond to that, actually, because
Yeah, I bet.
That's what we live for, you know, and we mean it, so and they can sense that, and that's what makes it worthwhile, actually. And I think that's what differentiates us, meaning Lynch Mob, from a lot of other bands in our genre and legacy bands, is that we do go outside a lot. You know, we throw unexpected stuff out there. You know, there's right now we're doing we've kind of worked into doing this whole kind of 15-minute thing that's in Wicked Sensation that turns into some nights just turns into a big Miles Davis jam improvisation.
Nice.
That leads into style, Sly and the Family Stone, Ohio Players, funk, audience participation, and the crowd loves it, you know. Or throw some covers in there that we'll be listening to on the drive into the, you know, whatever city we're going to. And of course, we're all listening to music, you know. And let's do this tonight. We'll get the dressing room, we'll bang it out a little bit, we'll go out and we'll throw it down, you know. And that's what keeps it fun and fresh.
Do you find? Do you find? Okay, so just talking about Dokken then for a sec. The last album I think you were on, now correct me if I'm wrong, was Shadow Life from the mid-90s, 97 or thereabouts. Do you think you've got some unfinished business there from the fan? I know a lot of fans feel that way. You know, they want you guys to get back together and produce another album. But do you think you've got any unfinished business with that band?
Well, I personally do. I think I'd like, and I've said this a lot, I'd like to put that other bookend on there, you know, and a nice bow on it, and go out with a good record, you know, a really quality record. You know, it's well thought out and is of the same caliber as of our earlier records, and not going to disappoint people. But we had an opportunity, I think it was last year, when we were working on the End Machine record. Before we were in pre-production for that, before Robert Mason got on board, we were actually talking to Don about that being a Dokken record.
Okay.
And of course, it didn't happen. But you know, I think we've got a small window here. Well, hopefully not a small window, but we've got a window right now because all four members are still with us. You know,
yeah, yep.
And we're all alive and functional and playing well. So it would make sense to do it sooner rather than later. I think the longer you wait, it becomes a diminishing possibility. I think, and I think that's we probably don't have much time to actually make that happen. But you know, I've let Don know many times that I would really like to do it. So
yep.
Is it? And Jeff would as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah. What's
will.
Yeah, it's just a matter of will, isn't it? Really, isn't it? That's what I was, you know, without being too direct. That's what I was sort of reading. That's what I was sort of seeing when I was reading interviews with Don and the media and the like. It was just a matter of just making sure, like, will exactly what you just said there. So, from a fan's perspective, I hope he understands. A lot of people would be really happy. But as I alluded to earlier in the conversation, there's a whole cohort of fans that didn't even... I mean, of course I know that you're in Dokken, but it's not how I got into you individually, I've got to say. So it's interesting that, isn't it, that you do have a few cohorts of fans out there that are into George Lynch.
Well, yeah, and, you know, I feel a little bit of pressure from that because I honestly work better as with kind of the idea of being an underdog. You know what I mean? I would never want to be like an Yngwie or a Steve Vai or an Eddie Van Halen, where you've got all this, you know, this kind of pressure of being the king of the mountain and everybody's trying to knock you off. I kind of like being that guy that's down in the valley, you know, with a slingshot, you know.
Yeah, that's...
I don't want to be
That's interesting. You think of yourself that way, to be honest with you, because I not just me, I think just about anybody that's a musician considers you one of the great modern virtuosos, if you like. Certainly one of the greatest modern rock and heavy metal guitarists. So I appreciate that you're very humble about these things. But yourself, Reb Beach, Doug Aldridge. I mean, without you guys, man, I don't think. And I've made this point about Trey from Morbid Angel too. There are a few guitarists that if you guys weren't around, all of those guitarists that I just mentioned, including yourself, of course, mate, I don't think modern rock and heavy metal would sound the way it does. And I don't think that's too big a stretch to say that, because I think your influence is enduring. I even think these guys that play Kings of Leon style music, they don't realise it, but they're influenced by somebody who was influenced by you as well. Especially with radio stuff.
Yeah, well, we're all, that's kind of the human condition. We're all building on the shoulders of our predecessors and learning from each other and paying it forward and so forth, all that kind of stuff. So, incrementally, we're all just, part of the process. I'm just happy to be, in the game and a piece of the puzzle, and it's wonderful to have accolades and people appreciate what you do and be able to actually earn a decent living at it and consistently. Raise a large family, and do something you love and you're passionate about. I mean, I think about that. I mean, we all know people that have been frustrated with their lives and lead unhappy lives because they feel they have pointless lives and don't have a passion.
Yeah, exactly.
So they try to find a passion. It's like, how do you find a passion? A passion is a thing that is innate, and is it possible that 8 billion people could have a passion, each have individual passions, and be free to just pursue those passions and the world function properly? I think about those things. So it makes me feel so fortunate that I have this, that I've done what I've done. And, the term the butterfly effect comes to mind where, when I think of when I was a very young man and I had, essentially nothing and, ninth grade education, no money, homeless at a couple of points in my life and things like that, and no job prospects and no skills, and went from that to having this. That's a gigantic gift. I'm really, really, really lucky, and I got a lot of people to thank for it. My own perseverance, of course, and is helped, but there's people along the way, and I will have to say one of those people was Don Dokken, quite honestly, which is kind of strange for me to say, but, he has a way about business that I don't agree with at all. But what's ironic is it's helped get me to where I am and support my family and get through college and, make a very nice life for people that I love and do the thing that I love. So I'm going to be said for that,
No, indeed. And look, I want to take a 90-degree turn, if that's okay, because I know you've been through some hairy moments in your career, like when you were, I think I read an interview where you mentioned that you were shot at during the LA riots. But that's a fairly famous story that's out there about you. I think you were driving a Di Tommaso, a Pantera, had to reverse down a laneway or something.
Let me clarify. One night I was driving it backwards because all the forward gears went out. So I drove through the riots, after curfew, through 10,000 fires and the smoke and the riots, backwards.
Oh God! Yeah, okay. Yeah. Is that one of those moments?
Anyway, go ahead.
Is that one of those moments where you look back and think, "What was I thinking? I should have just stayed where I was."
Well, my family was staying at the Oakwoods out in Marina Del Rey, and I was recording at Paramount Studios, and I had to get there every night. And recording schedules don't go by martial law, so aren't dictated by martial law. So I mean, 12-hour lockout. That's what I'm paying for. So I just took my chances. And one night, all my gears went out of my car, and I had a Grolsch beer, a 357 Magnum, and a Del Taco burrito. I remember that. I'll never forget that. And I will never forget how hard it is to drive a car backwards for extended periods of time.
Yeah, it's all backwards, isn't it? Literally backwards.
Literally backwards, and with the Pantera, which you can't see out of, so I had to stick my head out the window, which you can only do for limited amounts of time. And then, there'd be like these marauding gangs just looking at me like, what the fuck, that crazy white boy with the mobile home hair with that fucking... It was insane. It was insane. But I made it home, so it was all good. But
Good to hear. Good to hear. Is that the hairiest moment in your career? Or have you got an even hairier moment than that?
Well, no, I've had quite a few actually, but you probably want to save those for the book.
Actually, that was going to be my final question. When's the book coming out?
Yeah, well, whenever I get out to the desert and just sit on the porch and take a year off, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Are you getting a ghostwriter, or are you going to do it all yourself?
I have no idea. I mean, I haven't gone any further than just mentioning it to you. So it would be a possibility I would do someday. I mean, I definitely, if I ever did something like that, I would not want it to be one of those, rock biopic things, that are so, to me, superficial and silly and pointless and self-aggrandizing and, so hard, or we're so great, or whatever. I don't want to do that. I want it to be about, if I wrote something, I'd want it to be something meaningful that attested to something that mattered. So, not necessarily just focus on myself. Tell some stories, of course, and then have the point being what, and I'm a political animal, so that would be the point. I would, I made a movie, was involved in making a film called Shadow Nation.
Okay.
And it is about, the Native American, experience in North America, but, it can really be about indigenous story anywhere in the world. It's really the story about humanity and what makes people what they are. And that's what the book would have to be about.
Oh, really? Okay.
My take on that.
Right, yeah. So it wouldn't so much be a biography as it would be the thoughts and opinions of George Lynch.
And just talking to you right now, off the top of my head, what I would say is the way that I would build it, the architecture of the book would maybe be kind of an A-B. Like if you're writing a song, the formula was verse, chorus, it would just be verses and choruses. And the verses would be stories and, my life. Mm-hmm. And the choruses would be the bigger macro view of what I've learned, of what my opinions are, or what the facts are about policies and politics and human nature. And there's a book that I love that I turn on to people sometimes, and it's laid out like that. And it's written by this guy Hofstadter. It's a Pulitzer Prize-winning book called The Eternal Golden Braid. Mm-hmm. And the three featured components of that book are Gödel, Escher, and Bach. So they're a musician, mathematician, and an artist. Mm-hmm. And it's a fascinating book, and it's hard to describe, but one of the features of the book is half the book is staggered between this very cerebral, methodical language that's very hard to follow, but fascinating, along with children's stories, children's parables, these animal subjects, these creatures that sort of tell the parable, an aardvark and this animal and that animal. And it's really fascinating. They're tied together, It's just a fascinating book. And I would build it something like that, maybe. I mean, that's just me thinking off the top of my head while we're speaking. But, it'd have to be something like that to justify. Because I don't think, the world needs another Tommy Lee or Bobby Blotzer biopic.
I've read both of them. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And he's like, dude, and like, did you see that chick at the Rainbow? And then we went and got some blow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's never been your thing. Yeah. I know.
Well, no, I did all that too, but that'll be in the book.
Oh, there you go. But you know what I mean. You didn't. There was never the Motley Crue, the Dirt style stuff with you. I never got. I mean, good God, correct me if I'm wrong, and you kind of have. But I never got that impression.
I got Motley Crue style stories coming out my ears, and they're very entertaining, and I lived through it, and they're fun to tell and fun to listen to. So there's that.
I bet. Yeah. I didn't realize. I didn't realize you're a political animal, to be honest with you. So you've obviously got strong thoughts and opinions on the political world around us at the moment. And God, there's a lot to have an opinion on at the moment. So have you been keeping up to date with this Democratic presidential nomination campaign?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, unfortunately, it's a cluttered field, and and I think right now the struggle is between the progressive wing of the party and the centrist wing of the party. So you've got Biden, leading the centrists, and you've got Bernie leading the progressives, and you've got some incrementalists like Kamala Harris, which isn't anything's better than what we got. I'm honestly just so fatigued, and most of the people that I surround myself with, our political animals, are equally fatigued. And we're living through the American nightmare, and we hope it doesn't become a fascist nightmare. But for the moment, hopefully we can undo the damage at some point. It was crazy. I was watching a documentary last night called. I actually mentioned this to the last interviewer. The Black Godfather.
Okay.
And a story of this guy, Clarence Avers. That's this monumental figure, very quiet figure, but really pivotal in just about any black musician's career, record, film, concert, anything that was done in the last 50 years with black music. This guy was instrumental in making it happen, or involved in making deals, and it's just a fascinating and advancing his people's cause. And I'm sorry, I lost track of what I was talking about.
Oh, you're just talking about causes, and I think you're talking about black musicians. Sorry if I'm not mistaken, and the influence that this particular fellow had. So is it Black Godfather?
We were talking about politics.
Yeah, you mentioned a guy.
Talking about politics.
You mentioned someone called the Black Godfather.
Yeah. Well, it's a documentary film that. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're right.
I probably have to.
Look, politics. Politics is. Hey, look, politics is like that, and I'm sure you're aware. You've travelled often enough, but the rest of the world is forced.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. I'm sorry. I apologize. So in this film, with Isaac Hayes and anybody, just name anybody, Aretha Franklin. I mean, everybody's in this film, and all the heavyweights, and Mo Austins, and all the CEOs of the labels, and all the Berry Gordy and so forth. Everyone, James Brown. So, Barack Obama is featured in it, and knew this gentleman very well, and speaks very highly of him, and he's talking about him, and I just almost was brought to tears listening. I was not a huge fan of Barack. I mean, I was. It was too much of a centrist for me. I'm very progressive, but it was very frustrating, some of the things that he did. But listening to him speak so eloquently and intelligently and compassionately, with understanding, compared to what we have now, was just terrifying. I mean, we have this idiotic monster, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place. I mean, we're all trying to unravel that and figure out how this happened. And here's another thing that's kind of interesting too, because I'm becoming more and more aware of how pervasive the Trump base mentality is in this country, and how it's always just sort of been there but been quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just reared its ugly head in a huge way. I just played Sturgis for a week. We were in Lynch Mob. We played 6 nights, consecutive nights, so we played all week. And basically we were stuck in a Trump rally with motorcycles.
All right, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's pretty terrifying. Was this the country I live in? And these people will kill for what they believe.
Who were they? Who
Progressives are more compassionate people, by nature. We're wired to sort of be more empathetic and care about things outside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We care about other people. It hurts us to see people, in pain or suffer, so they call us snowflakes. But, people that are wired on the right, the way their brains are wired, they don't have that sense of empathy. Good. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it is. And, these people are the ones that have the guns. And they're willing to use them. And it's becoming pretty frightening. I mean, the prospects of, what Trump is saying and doing, and his whole administration in dismantling Obama's legacy and dismantling any kind of environmental protections, withdrawing from the Paris Accord, the Iran Treaty. I mean, destabilizing the planet and taking us back into the Stone Age as far as environmental, even the most basic minimum environmental protections in an age when we've got 450 parts per million of carbon in the air, which is not sustainable and is going to potentially destroy life on Earth. Mm-hmm. And we've got this buffoon who doesn't know anything as the most powerful person on the planet dictating policy. It's just insane. And, the Earth will be resilient. The Earth isn't going to disappear. But,
it might be uninhabitable for us, though. That's the issue, isn't it? Yeah, so being able to support life with our size.
I don't think it's all or nothing prospect. I think it's somewhere in the middle, but it's going to create a lot of suffering and pain. Mass refugees and droughts and food destabilization and the warfares that it causes, because people are going to be struggling for resources.
Well,
because that's all it's about.
Well, yourself and Tom Morello could get together and do something. You know that? I mean, gosh, because your politics mirror his, I think it's fair to say. And if you guys could, you could draw attention to some of these issues by working together. I'm sure you know Tom. And I'm sure he's a fan of your playing, by the way. I mean, how could he not be? He's a big fan of a lot of the rock and heavy metal guitarists of that era. So, yeah, have you thought about doing something politically, musically?
I did. And it's the film that I spoke about earlier called Shadow Nation, and Tom worked with me on that film. He's in the film.
Okay, there you go. Right there. Okay, well, you connected. Yeah, all right. So, yeah, look, it's...
And it surged from System of a Down, was also contributed. John Trudell, Native American leader, one of the early AIM, founders of AIM movement, American AIM movement, first on Alcatraz, first led the long walk to Washington and shut down the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the incident in Oglala and all that kind of stuff. He's since passed away. We worked on some songs together on the soundtrack, most notably Trail of Tears, which is the song that we co-wrote together. I also interviewed Noam Chomsky.
Oh, wow. That would have been great.
That was my I'm not worthy moment. But yeah, and on the other side of the spectrum, Tom suggests that Tom is friends with Ted Nugent. So that kind of surprised me, and I found that I really respected Tom's ability to see through a person's policy, ideology, and kind of look at their heart. And I don't know, I'm not even sure how to read it even to this day, but he loved Ted. They were great friends, even though they were on complete opposite ends of the spectrum politically, in almost a volatile way. I was like, how can this be? So I went out to see Ted, and he's actually in the film as well. And I went to his ranch, and the crew did, and we went out there for a couple of weeks and interviewed him. And I couldn't be as big of a man as Tom. I couldn't get through that. I couldn't get through that barrier that we had between us, and it was very unproductive, actually, and frustrating experience.
There you go. Oh, really? There you go. Okay.
But you as much as I hate Ted's policies and what he stands for, there is a certain thing about him that you can't help ingratiating yourself towards. He has he's a character, and he's got a thing about him that is fun. I don't know how to describe that, and I feel bad even saying that because it's terrifying, this thing that he stands for. So, but he's in the film as well. Yeah, and there's also a soundtrack associated with it called the band is called Shadow Train.
Okay.
So there's a DVD called Shadow Nation, and there's a CD called Shadow Train.
Gotcha. Yeah,
a 2 CD set.
Yeah, you got a very good. You got a good web presence actually with it all. The shadowtrainmovie.com website that pretty much explains everything. I'm just looking at it now. So is that available to stream? Do you know? Is that on Netflix and Prime?
I don't think it is. It depends on what country you're in. There's all these different territories. I know here in the States it's not available to stream. You can order it on Amazon. Or call George Lynch and have him send you a copy. But I think that's the only way to get it here in the States, but I don't know in Australia.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
but you have your Aboriginal rights issues, and all countries do, really. That's what this film is about.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to watch it. Actually, I'm sorry I didn't even know it was out there prior to you mentioning it. But I guess that's that's just trying to. I mention this a lot. Artists like yourself have such valuable projects out there, musical and visual. How do you cut through the bloody noise to be heard above all others? How do you do it? Because I don't think anybody who says that they've understand that, I think is a lie, to be honest with you, because it's such a bloody hard one.
Yeah, I mean it's really business-wise dumb of me to do so many projects. It's just it's all it's just like you said. There's so much out there. If you really want to do it right and cut through the noise, maybe you just do one record every 2 years, and you really promote it heavily, and you make your statement, and then you walk away.
Yeah.
But I've come from a completely different premise in these later years, where I thought, you know what, I'm not going to even concern myself with the back end of any of this stuff business-wise. I'm just going to do creatively what I want to do. What my mentor did, Hendrix. He didn't think about it. He went in the studio because he not only loved, he was compelled to create. And I feel that way. I just, I want, I have something to say musically, I'm going to say it. And I'll let God sort it all out.
Agreed, yeah. Well, mate, I'd better let you go. We've been talking for about an hour, and I really appreciate this. By the way, it's no
problem. Well, we don't get very often to talk, and it's a long ways away. And hoping we can, hopefully get down there one of these days. It's been way too long. I've been down there a couple times, I think, but probably like 10 years ago or something was the last time I was there. So.
Yeah, we'd love to see you down here, mate. I think you know that. Hopefully you get a lot of mail from us over social media, that sort of thing. In whatever way you can get down here, whether it be with KXM would be wonderful. Believe me, it would be truly welcome. But anything, mate, that you do, come down here for a clinic, that sort of a thing. I hope people reach out to you and make those offers. Yeah. There's a few very good touring
I'd really hope it would be a band situation, because the clinics are fine and everything, but that's not the whole package. I like to, if I'm going to come all that way, because that's a whole, it's a 27-hour flight or whatever it is. I'm going to make sure I come down there, strapped and loaded and ready to put on a show and deliver the whole package. Clinics are sort of underwhelming,
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Too clinical. Yeah, too clinical.
Great.
So, hopefully, hopefully with, doing enough press and things like we're doing today will help us get there.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed for sure. Well, congratulations on an outstanding career and doing what you can keep on doing, mate. Playing music and getting involved. You've got an activism core amongst you. That's great. You're championing great causes, good causes that need to have a spotlight put on them. So congratulations on doing all of it, mate. And as we've said, mate, look forward to seeing you down here.
I appreciate it. Okay. We'll talk again. Thanks.
No worries. Thanks a lot, mate. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
George Lynch, ladies and gentlemen, the guitar maestro. The quality of the phone line was potato. However, the quality of the conversation was high. So I hope you enjoyed that one there. If you like that chat, there are plenty more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com. And if you like listening, maybe you like reading as well, because I have written a book, Scars and Guitars Volume 1, Conversations from the World of Heavy Metal and Beyond. Click the link and the banner on the website and you'll be taken to a marketplace of your choice. You can download a sample. If you do complete the purchase, hit me up, because I want to thank you personally. I do have hard copies available now. They are very expensive though. I wouldn't buy one, to be honest with you. I would just stick to the e-version, because isn't that the way we should be consuming books these days? A lot easier, a lot more convenient, but I know many of you like the hard copy. It's a print-on-demand service, so I'm sorry I can't sign it. But I do actually have, as of, what's the date today? Tuesday the 22nd of November 2022, I do actually have a box of about 20 or so that I printed up from draft to digital and got them sent to me. So if you've listened this far and you want the physical copy, we'll sort out a price if you just send me a message via Facebook Messenger. I'm easily found, or hit me up via the email link on the website. Yeah, I'm easy to get in touch with. Just send me a mail and we'll see what we can work out, no matter where you are in the world. So on that note, here's some information about the book, but before we get to that, I want to bid you a fond farewell. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast series. Until next time, it is a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Cold Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Cold Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.